All right, I've started recording. This is the SIG architecture meeting for Kubernetes for May 7th, 2020. Thank you all for coming. Please abide by the Kubernetes Code of Conduct. And with that, we will begin. The only thing really on the agenda today are the sub-project readouts. So as we mentioned in the last meeting, we have a new sub-project, which is the enhancement sub-project. So that team will be doing the first readout for this meeting today. But to start with, the production readiness sub-project. So this has been progressing well. We have a CAP out there, a change to the CAP template out there right now. There's a link there. It's emails were sent out earlier this week to Cube Dev and the chairs and tech leads for Kubernetes to start at least a consensus on merging that. Essentially, that says that in 1.19, we will expect CAP authors to fill out the questionnaire. It adds the questionnaire to the CAP template. We will expect them to fill it out. It's non-blocking in 1.19. In other words, we're not going to deny an enhancement being part of the release because its production readiness has not been approved, but they do need to fill it out. A lot of the production readiness piece is just to force people to think through issues they wouldn't otherwise, so we actually get quite a bit of the benefit by doing that. But nonetheless, we need to measure the kind of review load that that's going to put on the team and get a better idea of that for the 120. Hopefully, it will be more. We can make approvals required. As part of that CAP, or rather that ER, we also are trying to add in some things for tooling. Jeremy will talk about that a little bit next in enhancements, but we're working closely with that team to, with the enhancements team rather, to try and make those reviews when we do get to like an approval required for those there are reviews, try and make them as light as possible and not become a bottleneck for the community. Any questions on that before we move on to the enhancements sub-project? Awesome, okay. Then Jeremy, take it away. I am not hearing you, Jeremy. You're still on mute. Let's see. Presumably people are hearing me. I'm not hearing anybody, so nobody's talking other than me.
Can you hear me, John?
Yes, absolutely.
I can hear myself on you, so nice echo.
Awesome, okay. Yeah, that's the Zoom web client. Okay, Jeremy says his laptop just crashed. Awesome, okay. Well, if we want, why don't we skip enhancements for now until Jeremy gets back online. And in the meantime, Hippie, why don't you do the readout for conformance?
Yes, will do. Thank you, John. One of the big changes that's affecting all of us is the change in release cycle. So the dates to which we can submit tests and promotions have been moved forward. So July 16th and July 30th are new deadlines for that. We've also kind of updated our OKRs to reflect that period cycle. So I think we're going to go for the same amount of increase, but we're going to be doing it towards the end of July instead of the end of June. We've got 16 new endpoints that are not part of conformance. A lot of these endpoints were ones we can't test yet. Feel free to click on the link if you want to see that full list. This was agreed on our last meeting, but would love to get other people's feedback for other things that shouldn't be part of conformance. So they're not part of our denominator as far as moving things forward. We'll update the API Snoop UI to reflect this, and it'll show a 3.6% increase in coverage. Again, our goal is 50%, or our stretch goal is 50% for the quarter, or for the 1.19. We also found some patterns that needed to have some tooling written. So we have 2 open, ready to approve test helpers. This will unblock a lot of points that are sitting in the queue. So if you have the ability and the knowledge, please do give us an LGTM and an approve on those 2 tools to support our testing efforts. We've got a pretty good flow going within our conformance subgroup as far as approving work before we go through and write it, because we have a lot of people with varying skill sets that are ramping up in how they can write tests, and it's a lot to learn. So we go through and write these files, these org files that create an output of a markdown issue, and those issues are what we go through in our 2 triage during the meeting. And one cool example is Stephen hasn't written tests before, but he put forth 3 related tests, and we said those look great, but would you mind parameterizing those so that we can have one test that will give us those 3 extra points. Caleb, who's a seasoned tester at this point, was able to have a mock test, if you will, to get approved. It says, should we write this? And it can be destructive. So if you've got thoughts around daemon set, particularly around how we can schedule things, I think there were some conversations there that he needs to rewrite that. There are other ones, but for this meeting, I just wanted to give us a feel of how that flow is going. And definitely for people that can approve the promotions, we have 3 that are past the 2-week soak point and are ready to increase those numbers. So if you can do some due diligence on those and promote those, that would be lovely. Otherwise, things are doing well, and I'm happy to be here.
Okay, thank you very much, Pippi. Does anybody have any questions on any of the conformance program? I guess I'll mention a couple of things. There's a cap out there for conformance profiles. If those of you who are interested in conformance have not reviewed it, it's it's work in progress, but we'd love to get any comments on there as well. Okay, great, thank you. Last then will be Jeremy. Were you able to get back online?
I was, thank you. Sorry about that. I went to click on mute and everything froze, and then my laptop died.
Awesome.
Yeah, perfect timing. So as John mentioned a little bit earlier, the enhancements subproject is new to SIG architecture. Some of the responsibilities that were part of SIG PM, kind of as SIG PM dissolved, became the enhancements subproject under SIG architecture. So we're kicking that off right now. Just a couple of updates to give everybody. We have a mailing list at Kubernetes-Keps at Google Groups. So you should go join that if you're interested in any news or anything we publish there. First big one in terms of the changes coming to Keps. There was a PR that I inadvertently didn't add to the meeting notes the link. I'll do that after this. But basically it changes the structure of Keps and moves towards a more directory oriented, more kind of standard, easier for tooling to discover structure. So that PR has merged. And again, I'll add the link to that after this. But ideally, we'd like to see everybody move to that by the end of 1.19. Second really big one is that, as John mentioned, there's a PR right now, 1620, that he referenced up above. And while that's mostly around the production readiness review, there are a few pieces of metadata that are going to get added to Keps. Specifically, we are adding, if I can find the browser window, stage. So it'll say alpha, beta, or stable. Let me share my screen.
I think I have to do something here.
Okay, I think I can share now. Oh, no, host has screen sharing disabled. Do you want to just open the PR?
Yeah, so you can either do that or if you grant co-host. Yeah, exactly.
There we go. All right. Can you see my screen?
It is remarkably tiny.
Yeah, let me make it bigger. Oop. How's that?
That's
Okay. So some new things that are getting added here. Obviously, the stage for the KEP. The latest milestone will show you when the last time delivery of work was done for this. So whenever changes were merged for this at the end of the release, we'll update this to show when latest activity was. And then finally, some additional milestone information. Some of this was found in the KEP issue at the the top of the issue when people would describe things out. It wasn't always kept up to date, and there's some issues with people picking up KEPs after some work had initially been done and not having the ability to edit those things themselves. So we're adding it here as part of the metadata. So it'll force a PR to update those things, but it'll also enable us to do some more tooling along the way, just adding some more metadata to make all of that goodness happen. And then last reminder is that the enhancements freeze for 119 is coming. That'll be on end of day, the 19th of May. Just keep that in mind. Any questions?
So can you hear me okay? Sorry.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So yeah, so just to add on to what Jeremy was saying, we are some of these enhancements will allow you enhancements to the enhancements meta enhancements will allow you to more easily update the issues, but also in terms of searching as we move into having a KEP website, which should be coming soon. The idea that you'll be able to map against like latest milestone and the stage that a KEP is currently in, or get a projected or an idea of what the first time a KEP went into alpha or beta or is proposed to go into GA, right? So we're adding that metadata to kind of hopefully get more information out of the various querying tools that we're going to be building. If you're not in this meeting and you catch this later, we're planning to send an email related to all of this, so don't worry that you're missing anything if you're not here. It will be very detailed. I've added a link to the SIG release KEPs that I've cleaned up into the directory structure, so you can check out exactly commit by commit how you would want to do that. Yeah, that's it from me.
Thanks. I was going to go grab that after the meeting. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'll just bring up one other thing in the production readiness. We talked about we have a need as reviewers to identify KEPs that are targeted for the upcoming release, but have yet to complete those production readiness things. So that'll be another use case for the tooling from the, either a CLI or a website would be useful for that. All right, I think that's the end of our agenda. We do have one question in the chat. It's not necessarily the sort of thing we usually talk about here, but since we have a few minutes, if anybody has an answer, I mean, you could use something like Sonobuoy, but there's 1,000 questions in there of how you're setting things up. I don't know that that's an easy question to answer. You may want to reach out on Slack for that. Any other comments to that question? If you're not reading the chat, the question is a suggested tool to check whether the setup of an on-prem cluster is done correctly. All right. Okay, well, thank you, everybody. If there's no more questions, we will call it for today. And everybody have a wonderful time and stay safe.
Take care, everybody. I just wanted to say thanks for everybody who's showing up still month 2, month 3 of all this. Thanks, everybody.
Later.
Bye.
Bye.
Steven, approve my UMass PR.